Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. My name's Matt, and today we're going to review Nightmare Country #1. But before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, commenting, it really helps me out and lets me know what you guys want to see more of. So, with that being said, let's get straight into it. All right, we got the cover here for Nightmare Country #1. It is a DC Black Label comic, and this is actually part of the Sandman Universe. And it is by James Tynion IV, Lissandro Esterin, Yannick Piquet, Patricio Del Piche, and Nathan Fairbairn. And we start off with this young woman at a party. Her name is Flynn, and she's talking to this gentleman at the bar about her life growing up and how she can't believe that she still dreams about the bullies that used to bully her in middle school. And then as she's talking, she looks into the dance floor area and she sees a weird looking monster who, instead of eyes, he has mouths for his eyes, and she kind of double takes, and then that monster's gone. It seems that she's just seeing these visions that no one else can see of this monster. So Flynn and the young gentleman go back to her apartment, and while they're sleeping together, the gentleman starts having a dream. And at first it's a sexy dream, but it quickly turns into a super fucked up dream where blood starts pouring out of his eyes, and he sees a man standing there. And this man, like that monster she saw, also has mouths for eyes. And this guy's named the Corinthian. He's actually a character in the Sandman book from the 90s. And he starts asking this gentleman if he's the one who painted these paintings of these creepy faces. And he tells the Corinthian no, that it's the girl Flynn who paints them. And the Corinthian's like, I wonder where she gets her ideas. And then we get like a little backstory on the Corinthian. And we find out that Morpheus, the Sandman, is the one who created the Corinthian to be a tormentor and to stalk humanity in their sleep. So in the morning, the young man wakes up and he starts to get dressed because he's kind of freaked out by that nightmare. And Flynn can tell something's wrong. And she asks him, like, are you okay? Did I do something wrong? And he's like, you should have covered up these paintings. Don't bring people back here without doing that because they're super fucked up and they give people nightmares. So the gentleman walks out of her apartment and goes down the stairs. And as he's going down the stairs of her building, someone passes him. And that someone is the Corinthian in real life, not in the dream world. And he knocks on Flynn's door and kind of lets himself in. And he starts asking her questions about the paintings, wondering like where she's seen this before, this figure with mouths for eyes. And she's like, are you one of us? Have you seen him too? And that's where I'm going to leave it. I don't spoil any more of this comic. So I was pretty excited about this comic because I'm a big fan of the Vertigo titles from the 90s. I love Hellblazer, Swamp Thing, Sandman, all that stuff. And I've heard James Tynion is a pretty good writer. I haven't read too much of his stuff myself, but he's been getting a lot of praise about his Batman run. And just from the cover, you could tell this was going to be about the Corinthian. So I was pretty excited about that because he's a super creepy character. But I was actually pretty disappointed in this book. It's not terrible or anything, but there was a lot of talking. Like the beginning 5 pages are just mostly Flynn talking. I think the guy says like 1 or 2 things, but mostly it's her talking about middle school, high school drama and how she can't believe that she still dreams about that stuff. I mean, the coolest parts about this book were definitely with the Corinthian, but even with that, he had to tell his whole backstory in like a flashback sequence while he was talking to the guy in Flynn's apartment. For the most part, it just seemed like there was a lot of scenes that could have been shorter or there could have been more action in them to make the panels more interesting and less just like people standing around looking. Even when it does get violent, it's like people talking and you don't barely see the violence or the violence has already happened. And there's just like this monologuing about their motivations, but I want to see more of the horror stuff on the page. A lot of the scary scenes were just kind of one panel instead of like this build up. And maybe that's what he was trying to do with talking, but I didn't feel the build up happening. The art was pretty good. There was 3 artists on this book, 1 for the main storyline, and then I think 2 for the separate dream sequences. So all of them were good. I thought the annoying thing is that like a lot of them were just drawing people standing talking and not a lot of interesting things going on. So this is one of those books that like I want to know what's gonna happen because I like the universe in general, but I would have been mad if I had bought this book in anticipation of like a cool creepy story or horror book and it ended up being a bunch of people talking for the most part with some spattering of creepy scenes. But it's been a while since I've read Sandman, so your mileage may vary. If that's like your favorite character and you really love that world and you just eat this up, like you're all in for the Corinthian and the whole dream world and everything. So if that's your thing, you might have a whole different take on this book. You might like it a lot. And like I said, I am a fan of the Sandman books. I just think that Neil Gaiman is a very, very skilled writer and he was able to have a lot of the interesting conversations or dialogue heavy things going on while the page also had very cool graphic elements to it. It didn't seem like it suffered as much as when other people try to write in his Sandman universe. It just seems like their attempt kind of misses the high bar that Neil Gaiman set. So I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5 because it's a fairly average book. And like I said, I would have been disappointed if I had picked this up expecting some kind of horror book that's going to be based in the Sandman universe and ended up getting a bunch of dialogue heavy scenes with people standing around talking. But like I said, your mileage may vary. So if you saw something you like, definitely go pick it up at your local comic book store. And we will see you all in the next one.